In the first two classes, you have designed and expressed the overall conception and structure deepening of the historical building reuse scheme. The task of this lesson is to learn the concrete strategy and expression methods of space reconstruction according to the principle and the objectives of reuse. The core of this lesson is space reconstruction. So first, let's look back at the concept of space. Liang Sicheng, a famous Chinese architect, went to the modernist master Wright to ask questions about architectural theory during his study in the United States. Wright immediately waved to Mr. Liang, "Go back to China. The best architectural theory is in China." Can you guess what is the theory the master implied? Give you a tip. The theory of full or empty. Yes, for a pot just for its being empty inside, you will use it as a utensil. For a house just for its being empty inside, you will use it as a room. So if it is full, it is for convenience. If it empty, it is for use. The words from Tao Te Ching mean that pottery pots have the function of utensils because they have the hollow place. We cut through windows and doors to build houses, and it is the empty part of the house that makes it work. Being full is convenient, while being empty is really playing its role. For a building, this empty means space. For a new construction project, it means design space. Returning to the historic building protection and reuse project, the space scale of the building is certain. What we have to do is to reconstruct the existing space. Space reconstruction is also the soul of the reuse project's design. As is shown in the figure, we take a partially abandoned boiler house located around an old community and reused as an architecture museum as an example. Starting from the conventional expression, space drawings of a new project, that is, plan, section, and perspective, to design and express the space reconstruction strategy of the renovation project, so that students can master the content, strategy, and expression of the reuse of the project's space reconstruction. In the process of learning, similarity and differences between the reusing project and the new project in the spatial deepening design are also found. Shenyang Blue Sky Plan and urban central heating made a large number of boilers scattered in old residential areas, primary and secondary schools, factory enterprises in abandoned or partially idle state. The boiler house of this project is located at Haikou Street in Shenyang and is affiliated to the Architectural Design Institute. Now expect that some heat exchange stations are still in use, the rest have been abandoned and idle. But the main structure is well preserved. It is very similar to the preservation status of the boiler room designed by you. Haikou Street is surrounded by old residential areas, lacking urban public space. Reuse the boiler room as an architectural museum, which can not only meet the use of Design Institute, but also provide an urban public space for residents exchange in Haikou Street community, so that the boiler room can serve the society again. Let's start with the conventional plan and section design familiar to the students to see how he reconstructed the existing space. Let's start with the plan design. This is a single-layer boiler room with a construction area of only 300 square meters. Its original state is drawn first. Through structural deepening design, we determined that the original main structure of the building and the heat exchange station is still in use are the part of the black area. This is the embodiment of the authenticity of the design. The museum is to be used as a public building, so we should first consider the infiltration with the city and the surrounding environment. The main entrance is connected with Haikou Street to create a public landscape space, where surrounding residents can come to rest, chat, and then enter the museum. The secondary entrance is connected with the Design Institute, and the same treatment is done. The main body of the boiler room is well preserved. Firstly, we adopted the treatment strategy of integrating the new with the old. According to the requirements of reusing functional diversity, we divided the plan to form two functions: first floor display and communication. The communication space here itself has compound diversity. Then, according to the plan layout, the vertical space reuse is considered. Combining the plan layout, dividing the space in vertical direction, the cross-sectional expression of an orthographic projection is formed. It is a single-story large space with the net height of 6 meters under the beam. According to the overall idea, the original structural system steel truss is preserved. That is, the historical value of the original building is preserved. Since the original industrial building has a story height of 6.6 meters, we newly added the laminated floor to form a local two-story design, increased the building area, and set up all variable exhibition and office spaces on the second floor. The original building area is small, which cannot meet the needs of some ancillary houses. We have set up two containers outside the building, which are respectively connected with the first floor and the second floor to further expand the space. This is also a new-old juxtaposition strategy. The teacher used the new and the old juxtaposition strategy to expand the building space in this project. This is important to stress that the original size cannot be changed. If the vertical space is not suitable at this time, return to the plan layout for adjustment. This is also the process of a designing cycle. Above basically expressed the strategy of reuse through plan and section. You may feel that the reuse strategy is still not intuitive and clear enough. Can we quote the construction idea of the three-dimensional model? It is to draw out the strategy of reuse in 3 dimensions. The method of stratified axonometric decomposition graph is proposed. First, the original and the reversed area are drawn first, and then the modern structural form of assembled steel beam and floor slab is introduced, creating a variety of spaces of exchanges, exhibitions, office, etc. that can be transformed and intermingled with each other. At the same time, the materials are compared with the original materials by using waste containers and walls made of renewable materials. All of these make the new space elements contrast with the original space to increase the recognition of the old and new space. This is the first expression of space reconstruction that students need to study and learn today, which can expand our expression of the horizontal dimension of architectural space. The second three-dimensional representation is the profile perspective. In the figure, the section perspective before reuse is first drawn, and then the expression of space reconstruction is carried out. Not only can we see the division of vertical space, but also the scale relationship between the whole space and the people. In this case, the newly implanted space is reversible. After many years, its function cannot meet the needs of that period, and its demolition will not cause damage to the original historical building. This kind of design strategy can be used in your design. The third form of three-dimensional representation is the partial perspective. Let's take a museum case we have studied before as an example. Draw a layered axonometric drawing on the left and number the important spaces from the first floor to the top floor, with a perspective view of human viewpoint on the right. So even if you haven't been to the building, you can still have an immersive feeling with the drawings. For reuse projects, we still want to use that expression, but a new concept needs to be introduced, which is the contrast between the old and the new. We want to have a contrasting concept in the perspective, which is what it was like before you reduced it. Let's still take Liu Hongdian Architecture Museum as an example. On the left side is the axonometric map of the first floor after the space deepening design, but we don't know the spatial effect of the human viewpoint, which is a perspective on the perspective map we are reusing. I'm going through the secondary entrance to the museum's fixed exhibition area. Space perspective with human viewpoint on the right side. This is a perspective before reuse. This is a fixed exhibition of Mr. Liu's life after reuse. When it goes to the second floor, it's a temporary exhibition area. This is what it looked like before reuse. All we can see is very broken chassis and tic-tac-toe steel roofs. After reuse, let's take a look at the situation as a temporary exhibition area. Such a contrasting perspective can be very clear to see the difference before and after reuse. This is also a very recommended way of expressing spatial reconstruction. The above is the study of space reconstructing strategy and expression of a reuse project. The outer skin of Liu Hongdian Architecture Museum has basically maintained its original appearance, so we will not explain it too much here. In this chapter, we use two historic building reuse projects, Jiapingwa Literature and Art Museum and Liu Hongdian Architecture Museum as examples to explain the idea that addition to conventional drawing expression of a new project that everyone has mastered. In the plan design stage, we need to deepen design according to the particularity of the project. I hope that students can combine the ideas and strategies of historical building reuse and the architectural design expression ability, and thus put forward unique design ideas and complete drawing expressions for historical building protection. The problem of historical building protection is huge and profound. This course is only to lead students to knock on the gate of historical building protection. In future work and practice, I hope that students can always keep in mind the significance and the value of historical buildings and keep them as long as possible. At the same time, give them new life.